Okay, this is Bob. Bob's gonna help us today. He's gonna be our model. He's gonna show us, he's gonna help show you what the casting process is for custom spinal orthosis. So we're gonna do a casting for a lumbosacral orthosis, an LSO. We're also gonna do one that comes up a little higher, and we're gonna do a high profile TLSO. So there are variations between there. So if we came up to Bob here, this would be a high profile. More at nipple line, now these are just general examples. More at nipple line, we'll say right here, would be a mid profile. And then some people actually call an LSO a low profile TLSO, and it makes sense because we are into the thoracic spine at that point. Some debate on that, but we're gonna do a cast for a high profile TLSO, and then we're gonna do a cast for an LSO today. When we do our first cast, we don't want to ruin Bob's clothes, okay? Nobody wants that. So we're gonna actually protect, you can't do it on the patient's skin either, because just imagine pulling off a cast or for whatever other reasons that might not be good for the skin. So we're gonna put on, for an adult, this stockinette, okay? We're gonna cut some armholes here, and his head's gonna come through the top. We do 2 of them because I cut one off with the cast. So in a moment, this is how an orthotist makes their cast in a standing position. Now, not every person can stand when they're taking a cast. They might be in a hospital setting and they have a back fracture, for example, and they can't get up until they get their brace. So there's different approaches for that kind of thing. You can do casts, you can do sometimes off of just measurements. We'll show you the whole process. But for right now, Bob can stand, so we'll take a standing cast, and then in a moment we'll do our laying down cast. Okay, so now what I'm going to show you is how an orthotist comes to a patient and we want to start our measurement process. So there's all these landmarkers that an orthotist uses to take measurements at, because after you take our cast of them, that's great. We have a great standing cast, but the other thing we want to do is verify things with the measurements we took. If something ever happened, for example, to the cast that you took, well, you can go back, look at your measurements. The measurements also paint the picture. So what I'm going to do now is we're just going to start off and we're going to mark out certain landmarkers on Bob. So the first one that we'll just start with here, this is in no particular order, is his sternal notch. Then we actually go to nipple line right here on him. We look for his xiphoid process, which is right here. You have to trust me on this. I can feel it. You can't really see it, obviously. So we found a xiphoid process. And now I'm going to go down and kind of start talking about the waist and symphysis pubis and the anterior superior iliac spine. So with the TLSO, everything is based off of the waist measurement. So when the casting, what you're going to see is I'm going to be putting my fingers on top of his hip bones. And so the reason why that's important is if I did not do that, if this shifts at all like this in the casting process, then we're in trouble, because you're wondering where is the waist compared to everything else. So what an orthotist does in a lot of situations is actually put their fingers or something, stockinette or something, on top the iliac crests. And we kind of just have an indentation that won't slide. It never slides away. So I'm going to go down here now. We're just going to kneel down from the side, and I'm going to show you how an orthotist continues on. So right here is the top of Bob's iliac crest, right here. So I'm going to mark that. Okay, and then we'll just check the other side here. Okay, so what you can do is, a lot of times what you'll do is just have a middle line here. Obviously this isn't the top of his iliac crest right here, but it signifies the connection between the two of these. So we continue on down, and we're going to show his ASIS, which is right here. He has one on both sides. And then we actually find one more bone down here. This is his symphysis pubis, and that matters for custom braces. We need to know the measurement from here to here because we don't want it digging in to his lap later when he's trying to sit with this brace on. So these are all important measurements. So from here, what I'm going to show you is we'll take measurements from side to side. Here, we'll take measurements from side to side here, ASIS, waist, xiphoid, nipple line, axilla. Those are our side to side measurements. And actually we take circumferences around all of those same places as well. So circumference around the trochanter, which is very close to the symphysis pubis in terms of a height level. And then we'll just keep going. So circumference here, circumference at the ASIS around, waist, xiphoid, nipple line, axilla. So we have all that. That paints about 2/3 of the picture. The next thing we're actually going to do is do a height measurement. So we'll go from waist to sternal notch, waist to all these different these points. And that'll again help paint the picture. Okay, so this is what I call an ML gauge. So this is what an orthotist uses to go from side to side. You can have it vary for your teenager, getting into an adult size here and into kind of more of a plus size over here. This would be the measurement that I would take for the symphysis, the trochanter ML. We would come up here again for the ASIS. Again up higher here. Now this is a more snug measurement actually. So the whole point of the TLSOs, and we can really speak on the ones that we make, we'll get to the importance of why the waist, this is more snug. But we're going to just go on up the line so you can see the series. This is the general tool that an orthotist will use in order to take those kinds of measurements. The next thing I want to show you is just quick circumferences so you get an idea. So I'm going to come down here. Some orthotists really prefer to go in centimeters. I get it. As long as you're consistent as an orthotist, then great. I go into inches, taking our circumference at his trochanter level. Then we're taking it at his ASIS, at his waist, and on up. Now, another thing an orthotist does, can you just stand up real straight for me? Another thing an orthotist has to do so we don't end up choking a patient, that wouldn't be good, right, Bob? So we do measurements like this, okay? So this would be, for Bob, it's 14. This is his waist to sternal notch, nipple line to waist, xiphoid to waist, and then you can even do waist to ASIS and then down to his symphysis pubis. So all that makes sense. So we don't want to be in with our brace into his axilla. He wouldn't like that. He would stop using the brace. We don't want to be in the neck. We don't want to be into his lap too far. This is a rigid material and it's meant to stop certain motions. And so if you got something rigid, obviously that's not very comfortable. So the next thing we're going to show you is the casting process and how we go along in that process in order to make someone's brace.